The Kick-Off Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to the Sterling Sports Carpety Breakfast Show with Damian, and it's time to talk racing now. So let's welcome into the show from the Ratbags Racing Show. It's Chris Craddock. G'day, Chris.
Yeah, hi Damian, how are you? Yeah, no, another pleasant day here in Levin, though the rain's forecast, so I'm sure it'll get here eventually. So a lot's happening on the racing scene here in New Zealand. The last time we spoke was a fortnight ago. Of course, we didn't speak last weekend and the holiday weekend. So, things have moved along quite nicely. Of course, in that time, New Zealand has moved from level 4 to level 3. And the really good news that's come through from the government and all the agencies and departments that look after racing, they have actually agreed that racing can begin in level 3. So we're okay. So we're not really holding out for that big stick when we move from level 3 to level 2. I know Cabinet's meeting on Monday, the 11th of May, to make that decision, but in actual fact, that's going to be the first day that racing will kick off back here in New Zealand. So I'm pleased. So regardless of level 3 or level 2, we racing in New Zealand will be kicking off on Monday, the 11th of May, which isn't that far away. So people will be very pleased about that. In my own personal bubble, listeners would be aware that I've been feeding a couple of horses here in Levin, which this program takes a very close interest in, and they're of course the Kapiti Express, which won the Stratford Cup during this season, has finished second in the North Island Country Cups competition for running a third in the Otaki Cup and a fourth in the Manawatu Cup, and I've been feeding him in a paddock here in Levin, of course with my own little trotter there, Buller Whitebait, who ran second and the 3 thirds and a fourth and a fifth, and very pleased with her. So I can report on Friday, the 1st of May, Doug Gale came down and picked up both of those horses. They've gone back into work in anticipation that they'll be up and racing in about 10 weeks' time. So I'll talk about that going further, exactly where they're going to race. So I know listeners really like to follow those two horses. So, of course, that's the syndicate horse, the Kapiti Express, which is owned by 15 people, basically supporters and keen people and interested and here based on the Kapiti Coast, the Kapiti Coast Harness Racing Club, and we traditionally race at Otaki at the end of January, start of February, and, of course, Buller Whitebait, my little trotter. However, I'm not getting scot-free off, because the first foal out of my nice mare, Starry Delight, who won 5 races, people will remember her. We've tipped her out for many years on this program. Her first foal, which is by Raging Bull, so obviously his name is Raging Whitebait. And he's had 8 weeks in his second preparation of education. He's showing a huge amount of potential. Doug Gale, the trainer out there at Bulls, are quite keen. So on the 1st of May, horses were swapped around. So 2 horses have gone back into training, and I'm now looking after the yearling, which will, of course, become every horse in New Zealand has a birthday on the 1st of August. So he's going to turn 2 on the 1st of August. So I'm looking after Raging Whitebait now. So that's what's in my personal life with the horses, with the hands-on. Of course, Aussie racing continues to happen across the Tasman. And I know the TAB, Rita, are very pleased for that, because that continues to have a wagering and an income coming into the TAB. And, of course, if nobody's wagering, nobody's putting a bet on, then there's no income. And, of course, that wagering income funds racing in New Zealand. So I've been pleased about that. But let's talk about racing kicking off here in New Zealand. So the last time we spoke, a fortnight ago, I'd indicated possibly that things were up and running from the 1st of July. Well, that's certainly been moved forward tremendously. Greyhounds don't need that big lead-in period of pre-training to get them back fit. So on Monday, the 11th of May, which isn't that far away, greyhound racing will kick off in New Zealand. And, you'll be able to bet on them. And they're having up to 7 or 8 greyhound meetings a week, going right through to the 1st of August. So Rita has approved a program, and that's the TAB, the funding of racing, and they will race 6-7 greyhound meetings right through to the 1st of August. On Friday, the 29th of May, harness racing will kick off in New Zealand. Looking forward to that, meetings at Cambridge. And again, there will only be 4 tracks used in New Zealand for all of just those couple of days in May June and July, and they are Invercargill in the far south, and basically any horse which is domiciled south of the Waitaki River, they race at Ascot Park. North of the Waitaki River, they race at Addington, and any horse at all that's trained in the North Island, they'll race at Cambridge or at Alexandra Park. So they're the only 4 tracks in the entire country that will be used for basically all of June and July. So, and as the government said, they can race under level 3 or level 2. So I'm anticipating that the first few greyhound meetings will be still in level 3, and he is really hoping by Friday the 29th of May we've moved to level 2. Of course, that will be very different to traditionally the norm. You know, there's got to be no such thing as the norm. We're looking for the new normal now, and the general public and owners certainly can't attend race meetings in level 3, and it's highly unlikely in level 2 as well. It won't until we get to level 1, because you've got that restriction that people can't gather together in level 2 inside of more than 100 people and outside for more than 500 people. So, so it's still going to be quite different. And I can report that the thoroughbreds, they kick off on Friday the 3rd of July, and those dates have been approved. Interesting enough, the greyhound racing, they've actually equalled up with the same amount of meetings that they would have run under the old calendar. Harness Racing New Zealand, in actual fact, actually picked up an extra meeting. So in actual fact, no harness racing has been lost at all for that winter period, though the thoroughbreds have been hit quite hard. They're only going to run half the amount of meetings in July that they would have done. And here in our own district, that's only going to be at Awapuni, Wanganui, and they're going to alternate between those 2 tracks for the month. So that's where we're at nationally. I can report that I'm still part of that working group for Central District's harness racing, and with our proposal that we put forward, and it's gone through to Harness Racing New Zealand and also to RETA, and that's basically the TAB, and they're the ones who grant licences so you can race in New Zealand under the New Zealand Racing Act. And we're still hopeful that Central District's harness, all based at Manawatu Raceway, because of course they have fibre there, which reduces the cost tremendously, that possibly we could have harness racing here locally from the first week in August. And of course that's one of the main reasons why the Capit Express and Buller Whitebait have gone back into work. And they'd be ready by the end of July and for the kick-off on the 1st of August. If that doesn't happen, then the 40-plus horses that are trained here in Central Districts, so that's people like Doug Gale at Bulls and Stephen Doody in Palmerston North, and the horses that are based in Hāroa, and also Scott Dixon at Hunterville. He's got up to a dozen horses there. They're going to have to jump into trucks and head off to Cambridge and to Alexandra Park from August, September. So that's where we're at. There are draft calendars for the new season from August the 1st right through to the 31st of December. Harness haven't published theirs yet. I've seen a draft of the Thoroughbred Codes one, which goes through to the middle of November. And interesting enough, they've just published basically their entire traditional calendar of all the normal meetings and all the normal race courses. I don't know under the new normal whether that's going to happen. Of course, I was very interested in looking at Otaki Maori race course, which of course Kapiti Coast Harness races on. They don't have fibre at that course, and there's huge expenses involved in being able to broadcast from the Otaki Maori racecourse. But their traditional first race meeting of the season for October is in there in the Thoroughbred Code. So, but it's a really watch this space leading into the middle of May when the new season's racing calendar will be produced. So I know people in the harness industry are really keen that we have a lot of those traditional races come back. So therefore Cup Week will happen at Addington in November, and it's also the Thoroughbred Code. And, of course, the Sire Stakes races, which are all funded by participants in the industry, they've said possibly they'll be racing in September, October, and some of the finals that were to be raced at the end of this season, they'll throw it into the upcoming season. Of course, the big one for harness racing, of course, is the Jewels, which was down to be run at Cambridge on Saturday, the 30th of May. Well, that's definitely gone. And can't be replaced. So that's where we're at in the world of racing, and I sure hope that my fellow Ratbags co-host, Noel, is listening this morning. He'll be pleased to know that Raging Whitebait's stable name is Noel. There you go.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, I had a few important Noels in my life. I know quite a few of the listeners thought that the Noel that we co-host with this was actually my father, Noel, and got a bit concerned when he passed on a year and a half ago. I'm pleased to report that the horse that I'm now feeding in the paddock here in Levin is Noel, and that can apply to all the Noels in my and our life.
Outstanding. We can't wait to have Noel back on the show, and same with Mike. Thank you for the update, Chris. Always a pleasure, mate. We will go well over the next week, and we'll catch up next.
Yep. Really look forward to it. Yes, you just can't wait till those greyhounds kick off on the 11th and harness racing kicking off on the 29th of May.
Excellent stuff, mate. The new normal. Bring it on.
Yep. Looking forward to it.